The application events. The application events include the computer applications test, the database design and application test, the spreadsheet applications test, and the word processing test. These 4 tests are very similar in their style, that they are all individual events. You also have a production component to it and an objective test. Let's start with the computer applications, and I'll try to give you more information. Again, it's a 2-part test. This particular test is going to combine your word processing, your spreadsheet, your presentation software, and also your database software. And you will create, search, and query databases. You will use the spreadsheet application for spreadsheet functions and formulas. You'll use the presentation application for text, slide, graphics, and presentation production. And you'll also use business graphics and word processing. So you use a combination of all of the different Microsoft Word or other program applications in order to produce your product. These production tests are what we call skills tests. And these skills tests is a test that is sent to your school that you have handwritten directions, and you'll complete step by step the particular jobs and then submit them onto the state website. The skills test will be sent to your schools February 27th and must be submitted to the state by March 15th. And let me show you an example of what that skills test might look like. Here's the example of the computer applications. This particular job is a spreadsheet where they're asked to type in the variety of columns and rows. Looks like creating some sort of conditional formatting, formulas with total rows, particular formatting for the title, subtitle, and the numbers. Also looks like you're creating a chart, in this case a bar chart. Moving on, taking that same data and creating a pie chart. This particular pie chart looks like it has a legend. Taking that same spreadsheet and showing it in formula view. Next, this looks like a database. So here they've created a, looks like a data set with the ID, first name, last name, street, address, and city as fields, and typed in the actual data correctly. Then taken that information and created a query. Looks like it's just opening up in a state, zip code, and a mailing list query. Taking that original data and creating a form. Continuing on in the database, creating another query. Continuing on, looks like a mailing list, so an additional query that might have some if and statements within that query. This looks like a customer's report where it's identifying the ID, the first name, the last name, and the city and state information for the clients that are in their database. Here they're creating a mail merge. Looks like we're using the Microsoft Word application, possibly using some of the spreadsheet information or the database information to create this field list in Microsoft Word. That mail merge then is merged with the data. Moving on from Microsoft Word into PowerPoint presentation, this looks like a printout of a slide with notes. This is a printout of 9 slides per page. So this here then would be an example of the variety of different types of jobs that you would need to create for your production in the computer applications. Let's take a look at one of the productions for the database and design event. Database and design. So if you're really good at database, creating something like Access or SQL database, you might be interested in the database and design event. Here is where you are creating multiple tables, and those tables will have some sort of a relationship together, and they will each be identified with a primary key. This is an example of showing you the customer table in design view. Moving on to the sales rep table, also in design view. You must, and the directions don't tell you specifically sometimes what to name the fields. They're just giving you some general information, and you have to kind of think about what you might name these particular fields. This is the customer information table. So it's all of the data with those fields actually typed in. Looks like you have the sales rep table, so the sales representatives. Now we're creating a relationship between the two tables, a one-to-many relationship. Continuing on, creating a design query. Here it showcases what will be pulled in for the query, which table you're using for the query, and then the results of the query. Continuing on. Now notice that each of these are screenshots of the student's computer. Here's another query design. This particular query design is using additional criteria. Again, another query design using multiple tables with multiple criteria. So on and so forth. So there's an example of the database. Again, the production test for each one of these events, the computer applications, the database, the spreadsheet, and the word processing, those skills or production tests are sent to your school. You complete them at school with a proctor watching you or keeping an eye on you. You have 1 hour to complete the production test, and then you will submit each one of your jobs to the state website. And these must be completed by March 15th. Once you've turned in your production test, when you're at state, you'll go through and have an objective test. The objective test at state is 100-point multiple choice questions. And here are some sample topics that you would cover in the computer applications test. Basic computer terminology and concepts, publishing, multimedia applications, email, integrated and collaborative applications, netiquette and legal issues, spreadsheet and database application questions, security, formatting, grammar, punctuation, and spelling and proofreading. Let's take a look at some sample questions that you might have for computer applications. Visual Basic is to be considered A, identify the program that coordinates computer resources, provides an interface between the computer and users, and runs applications. Now, where would you find possible questions for these topics? If you scroll down to the bottom of your web page, you'll notice that there are additional website resources. After you've taken a look at those additional resources, know that there is a regional test option for you to practice to prepare for conference. Same thing for database and design. The types of questions are going to be based on the database and design application. The spreadsheet application test, objective test, is going to be looking just specifically at the spreadsheet application, and the word processing application test, objective test, will be only asking questions about word processing. If you feel you're good with any of these application type tests, you should give them a try. Again, 2 parts, the production at school, we call that home testing, and then the objective test at conference. Good luck, and we'll see you soon.